Rapunzel, a dark tale of love and betrayal. Long ago, in a forgotten kingdom, a man and his wife lived in poverty, struggling to survive. His wife, pale and fragile with dark hair, longed for the forbidden herb known as Rapunzel, which grew only in the enchanted garden of a sorceress feared by all. Desperate to fulfill her craving, the man sneaked into the garden under the cover of darkness. The garden was wild and untamed, with thorny vines and twisted trees, illuminated only by the faint moonlight. But just as he was about to leave, the sorceress appeared. She was a tall, gaunt woman with sharp, angular features. Her dark, hooded cloak billowed around her like the night itself, and her black eyes gleamed with malice as she caught him in the act. In exchange for the stolen herb, she demanded his unborn child, a price too high to refuse. Terrified, the man agreed. When the child was born, she was a girl of remarkable beauty, with golden hair so long and thick it could catch the sunlight. The sorceress came for the child, as promised, and took her to a tower hidden deep in the forest, far from the world's reach. Years passed, and Rapunzel grew into a beautiful young woman. Her hair, golden and flowing like rivers of sunlight, had never been cut and reached the base of the tower where she lived, imprisoned by the sorceress. The tower stood in the heart of a dark forest, far from any path or road, its stone walls covered in vines and moss, with no door and only a single high window. Rapunzel spent her days in sorrow, singing songs that echoed through the trees and into the empty sky. Her beauty was striking, her skin pale and soft, her wide green eyes filled with sadness as she stared out the window, longing for freedom. The only visitor she ever had was the sorceress. Every day, the sorceress would stand at the base of the tower and call, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel would then let her long golden braid fall out of the window for the sorceress to climb up. One fateful day, a young prince, tall and handsome with broad shoulders and dark hair, rode through the forest. He wore a rich, dark cloak over his royal tunic, but his expression was weary, as if troubled by the weight of his responsibilities. As he rode deeper into the forest, he heard a song, a soft, melancholy melody that seemed to float through the trees. The prince was drawn to it, his heart aching at the sadness in the voice. Following the sound, he arrived at the tower and looked up, seeing Rapunzel's golden hair streaming down from the window. The prince hid in the shadows and waited, watching as the sorceress called for Rapunzel to let down her hair and climbed up the golden braid. Determined to meet the woman with the beautiful voice, the prince returned the next evening. Imitating the sorceress's voice, he called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel, unaware of the deception, let her golden braid fall. The prince climbed up, and when he reached the window, he was struck by her beauty. The prince visited Rapunzel every night, and the two fell deeply in love. Rapunzel, with her radiant golden hair and wide green eyes, had never known such happiness, and she eagerly awaited his arrival each evening. The prince, with his strong jawline and piercing blue eyes, promised to take her away from the tower and into the world beyond. In the moonlit tower, they whispered of freedom and a life together, far from the sorceress's grasp. Rapunzel's golden hair glowed in the soft light of the stars, and the prince, dressed in his fine royal clothes, held her close. Their love grew stronger with each passing night, and they began to make plans for their escape. However, Their secret could not remain hidden for long. One fateful night, the sorceress returned earlier than expected. She stood in the shadows, her sharp black eyes narrowing as she saw the prince climbing down Rapunzel's golden braid. Rage consumed her, and she waited in the darkness for his departure. When she confronted Rapunzel, her fury was unmatched. The sorceress's face, gaunt and twisted with malice, seemed even more monstrous in the flickering torchlight. She grabbed Rapunzel's golden braid with her bony hands and, with a wicked grin, took a pair of sharp shears and severed the braid in one swift motion. Rapunzel's once flowing golden locks fell to the ground, and the sorceress banished her to a desolate wasteland far from the forest. The next evening, when the prince returned to the tower, he was greeted not by Rapunzel, but by the sorceress. She let down the severed braid, and the prince, unaware of the trap, climbed up. When he reached the top, the sorceress was waiting. Her cruel laughter filled the tower as she cast a dark spell, blinding the prince. The prince, now blind, stumbled out of the tower and into the forest. His once proud and regal bearing was gone, replaced by sorrow and despair. He wandered aimlessly, his once bright blue eyes now clouded and empty, calling out for Rapunzel, though he knew he would never find her. Rapunzel, her once beautiful golden hair now short and ragged, wandered the desolate wasteland where the sorceress had cast her. The land was barren and harsh, with dry, cracked earth stretching out for miles and no sign of life in any direction. Her green eyes, once filled with hope, were now clouded with sadness and loss. She struggled to survive, but the memory of the prince's love kept her going. She sang softly to herself, her voice carrying across the empty land, a reminder of the life she had lost. The prince, blind and lost, wandered through the dark forest for many months. His once royal clothes were now tattered, and his face was marked with grief. Though he could not see, he never gave up hope, calling out Rapunzel's name, his voice echoing through the trees. One day, he heard a faint song, Rapunzel's voice, singing the same sorrowful melody he had first heard. Guided by the sound of her voice, the prince stumbled through the forest, his heart racing with the hope that he might find her once more. At long last, the prince found Rapunzel in the barren wasteland. She rushed to him, her heart filled with joy at the sight of her beloved prince. As she embraced him, her tears of happiness fell upon his face, and in a miraculous moment, her tears restored his sight. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the prince opened his eyes and saw Rapunzel standing before him. Rapunzel, her green eyes shining with tears, smiled as the prince looked at her with awe and love. Together they left the wasteland and began their journey toward a new life, free from the sorceress's grasp. In the beautiful garden of the restored kingdom, Rapunzel and the prince stood hand in hand, their love stronger than ever. They had overcome darkness and despair, and now they stood ready to begin a new chapter, their hearts full of hope. Ending for viewer engagement. Thank you so much for watching our retelling of Rapunzel, a dark tale of love and betrayal. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our channel. We upload new videos daily, so make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let us know in the comments which fairy tale or love story you'd like to see next, and we'll make it for you. Stay tuned for more captivating stories.